All right, Sean, the trade deadline happened. You were telling me that you didn't think it was a super exciting trade deadline, but I disagree. I thought that this trade deadline had some pretty powerful moves. Now, I left the most obvious best move. We're each going to share one here to you. What was the most important one in your eyes?
That's Marshon Lattimore going to the Commanders. It really is. Third and a fourth doesn't matter for the Commanders right now. I know you want to keep building. I know those are decently high picks. The Commanders had one good draft in the last 5 years, this past draft. So they don't have all the goodwill there for me with the one in the hand, two in the bush type situation. And Marshon Lattimore, I've gotten to watch him so much as I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan, have to track the Saints, have to track him. He is a true cornerback one, which this team needed. They had Benjamin St-Juste, who was a very good cornerback too, and they took a shot on Emmanuel Forbes Jr., who hasn't panned out in the NFL. He's been a little light of frame. His coverage has been shoddy, and then they've had to make up with it with very good cornerback play in the nickel from Mike Sanderstill, who was a very good pick that they picked up. That was stellar, but let's really shore up the defensive backfield. We are 7-2. That is massive. We want to contend. We want to contend now.
Hold on. Huh? You're throwing around we.
I didn't mean from the
loosely. You're not a Commanders fan. No, now you're a Commanders fan.
No, that was from like the royal we. As in, I'm taking it from the perspective of the Commanders.
You were using. I knew you were using it that way originally, and then it kind of started to
get on me for that.
There,
they
starting offensive lineman for the Commanders, Sean Anderson.
They are 7-2. And I like that they are buying in. When you have momentum, why not try to cash in on it? It's so hard to get that in the NFL. It's so hard to string a bunch of wins together in the NFL. And if you think you're going to make a real playoff run, what could adding a real top-tier cornerback like Marshon Lattimore hurt? It is a professional move by a historically over the last 2 decades unprofessional franchise to make a big play at the trade deadline. It's better than the Josh Norman move. It's 1,000 times better than the Albert Haynesworth move. Everything that they've done previously, we're going to bring these guys in. It hasn't worked. Now you have Dan Quinn, defensive genius, ex-guru, that can really manipulate a defense if he has the talent and he has the players. We've seen what he does in Dallas. We saw how bad Dallas has been on defense without him. This Washington Commanders defense isn't that good. They're not. You know how I know that, Joe? They're starting Dante Fowler Jr. at times, okay? It's not a great defense, but he gets them in the best position that they need to be on every single defensive drive. Do they give up touchdowns? Sure. Did they almost lose to the Bears? Sure. But they make it by, and they're continually adding talent. I like it. I like what they're doing. It's the biggest move by far of the trade deadline.
Yeah, a lot of people have compared the Commanders' success to that of the Texans, and I think that that's a realistic trajectory for what the Commanders are going to do this year. Go to the playoffs, win a playoff game, probably not make it much further than that. But what is going to help this team accomplish their goals and compete with the Eagles to win the NFC East is going to be having a more shored up roster. Right now, their biggest weakness, their most glaring problem was a defensive back. Emmanuel Forbes did not work out. Bad pick. He has not panned out. Undersized corner who has no physicality and can't tackle. I'm shocked. Has not worked in the NFL. He's not going to start. He can contribute in a different role. He should probably be traded in the future. But to get Lattimore for a third and a fourth is a great deal to bring him in. I don't know if he stays here long term. We'll have to see what ends up panning out with Lattimore's situation with the Commanders. But if you want to contend and you want to reach the playoffs, not sputter out after this amazing 7-2 start, and you want to actually get to your goal of reaching the playoffs, you need to add a big-time player like Marshon Lattimore. My trade that I think is worth bringing up here is Za'Darius Smith ending up with the Lions, who was traded over from the Cleveland Browns, Sean. They were in such a need of a boost to their pass rush. They have been playing great football. The Lions have been super stout on both lines of scrimmage, but losing Aiden Hutchinson opened up this massive question that we were asking ourselves. What are they going to do to at least bring some sort of a presence to their pass rush? Za'Darius Smith brings at least a veteran that has been around on winning football teams to step up to the plate to contribute to some extent. He is not going to match the production of Aiden Hutchinson. Maybe he does. I don't think it's going to happen where he is at this point in his career. But when you were down that bad of losing your most important defensive player, bringing in something is better than nothing. And this could be a really underrated move to help them go from being great to still having confirmed control over winning the NFC North.
Yeah, Smith has 5 sacks on the year, and it's no joke that the Lions' defensive line needed help. Last week, they had 8 defensive linemen injured. This week, they have 6, including, obviously, Aiden Hutchinson, David Bada, Marcus Davenport, Kyle Pecco, John Kaminsky, Broderick Martin. You can't have like more than 12 defensive linemen on a team. And if you got 8 of them hurt last year, Josh Pascal last week was hurt, was out with illness. They were starting practice squad players on the defensive line. They needed to bolster it. And this Lions team took great steps this year on improving their defense. Last year, we saw a very fun, flashy offense, but the defense in the second half consistently giving up leads, consistently getting in shootouts because they couldn't hang and they got gassed. This year, different story. The Lions defense has improved. They have matured. They're actually putting clamps on teams when they get a lead, but it's so hard to do that if the big guys up front don't have the legs and they don't have the energy to stick it out for 4 full quarters. So getting anybody's in that room was a plus, I would say. But to get a quality veteran impact starter like Smith, it's huge. It's what good teams do at the trade deadline. They were buyers. I am so jealous of seeing teams that can be buyers instead of sellers, as my team has been historically sellers over the last 4 years. Your team has been sellers over the last 20 years.
So Ed, I want to bring that up. This year, I think 2 teams stand out to me that should have been sellers. Like good franchises that are trying to improve that did not take advantage of this opportunity to move on for pieces that probably were not going to come back in the upcoming offseason. Those 2 teams are in the same division and have been playing horrid football. The New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys, 2 completely different reasons. It was speculated that the Giants could move on from Darius Slayton because teams that need receivers, there's not many good options. Go get Darius Slayton. He's a great third receiver on most teams, and maybe with a competent quarterback, could be a little bit more productive than what we've seen him do with Daniel Jones throwing him the football. And then Azeez Ojulari was also projected, who's been this additional pass rusher whose role has not exactly been the same since they brought in Brian Burns. He is a redundant player to have in the lineup, so it makes sense to move him. None of that happened. Dallas Cowboys, they didn't do S. I don't know who they necessarily would have gone to try and move. We went crazy and said, hey, get rid of Micah Parsons and see what you could bring in. Probably wasn't going to happen. But when you're this bad, and for the Cowboys to actually be finally in a position to sell and to accumulate picks in order to get better for next year, them doing nothing is problematic, and it continues to play into this narrative that we've brought up with the Cowboys that they're just not doing the things necessary to build a good football team.
Oh, Joe, I'm glad you brought up Dallas because they didn't do nothing. As we noted on the Sunday show, Dallas should be selling to accumulate picks, but instead they gave away a pick for Jonathan Mingo to help bolster their receiving core. They gave away a 4th-round pick for Jonathan
unproductive
Mingo,
second-year receiver. And also, why are the Panthers getting rid of Jonathan Mingo?
The Panthers are understanding the rebuild. They said we want 10 picks next draft, I guess.
But Mingo's not that old, and you also are losing value on that pick, are you not? Wasn't Mingo
was a 2nd-round pick.
So then you lost value on that. Why would you do that?
They're 2 inept franchises.
That for a hot second here. That is just 2 idiots. It's like when you're at the bar and your buddies, like they're out mingling, and 2 friends are talking to a group of girls, another couple of friends are talking to a group of girls. They're like, everybody's making things happen. Moves are being made.
Yeah.
And then you pan and go, where are the 2 other idiots that we came to the bar with? And they're just sitting there, passing back and forth the vape. That's all that they got
you
going
and me
on.
Sitting at the table, just sitting there watching college football on your iPhone. That's how it goes. I don't know who I'd rather be, Dallas or Carolina right now. Genuinely. I don't know what the future is for Dallas. They're not going to be a contender next year.
It's so stupid.
So stupid to get rid of a draft pick right now for a play. Are you trying to save your season?
It's over. Wait, hold on. Here's the circle here, though. It's really stupid to get rid of a draft pick for a guy that really doesn't elevate your receiving room with an injured quarterback. You're not going to go on a Super Bowl. That doesn't put you in a position to win a Super Bowl when you need that pick. And then the other flip side of this is, why are you a team with no receivers who already got rid of Deontay Johnson, getting rid of another receiver, just completely mailing it in and losing value on what you originally spent the pick on? He must be an a-hole or something.
I think it's Jalen Coker season, and the Cokeheads are coming out big time.
Is that what people are saying?
Yeah.
Are people calling themselves the Cokeheads?
Yeah,
they made that a thing.
No. Reporters were at like Jalen Coker's locker asking, "Hey, fans of yours are calling themselves Cokeheads. Do you have a comment?" He said,
my God.
"Nah, I appreciate the support, but yeah, I don't have much to say on that."
Well, if Jalen Coker has a blow up, I spotted him when he was at Holy Cross, and I recommended him for RPM. So I'm going to pat myself on the back there.
Good for you. I picked him up in my fantasy league, getting itted on 3 and 5.
That's loser behavior. That's a loser behavior.